The lawmakers are finally taking action, with many states sitting on huge budget surpluses, and several have even put forward plans to provide some direct relief to the residents. And the lawmakers do expect the residents to receive extra relief that's worth hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And this money could arrive in either the form of a bonus rebate check or tax credits. And folks, I want to say thank you for all your support, thank you for watching my videos, and thank you for subscribing to the channel. As a way for me to show my appreciation, I'd like to give you guys a free $60 Amazon gift card. All you gotta do is subscribe to the channel and enter the code right here on your screen. Enter the code when you're about to check out on Amazon.com. It's a free $60 Amazon gift card. And everybody, thank you so much for watching my channel, and thank you for your support. Now, state governments emerging from the crisis have built historic cash surpluses as inflation and prices and wages drove up sales and even income tax collections. Now, many states are reaping another reward. They are banking millions of dollars off those surpluses as the Federal Reserve just fights inflation with higher interest rates. States ranging from Democratic-led Massachusetts to Republican-led Texas, as well as a politically divided Minnesota, are all sitting on large surpluses that are swelling even further thanks to favorable interest rates on investments. And even as legislatures prepare for the 2023 sessions, governors and lawmakers are proposing and urging to tap into these surpluses just to cover tax cuts and greater spending on priorities like infrastructure and education. Though most states can't even afford it, financial experts are nonetheless urging caution because of concerns that the U.S. could slip into a recession. And by the way, everybody, as the legislature prepares for the 2023 sessions, governors and lawmakers are proposing to tap into these surpluses to cover tax cuts and greater spending on priorities like infrastructure and education, though most states cannot afford it. The financial experts are nonetheless urging cautions about this, after projecting an unprecedented $97 billion surplus in California just 7 months ago. State officials are forecasting a roughly $25 billion deficit in the next budget. California imposes higher taxes on the wealthy, and now they are lending to pendulum-type swings in tax revenues as the stock market just rises and falls. State tax revenues surged well beyond expectations after back-to-back years of double-digit percentage growth in revenues. States ended their 2022 fiscal years with a record cash because of nearly $343 billion in the reserves. But right now, folks, several states across the country are considering just a new way to help the low income financially. Unfortunately, Hawaii is not one of those states. It has been confirmed that Hawaiian lawmakers have dropped board tax relief proposals. And according to state officials, a few tax credit programs could be benefiting the low-income households and were advanced by negotiators in the state, in the House of Representatives and the Senate. And large, broad-payer tax relief programs by the governors were also dropped. The Hawaii taxpayers can expect less generous tax relief than proposed earlier this year, under a bill proposed and positioned for final votes next week at the legislature. The agreed-upon tax relief was influenced by a number of people. First of all, the plan would eliminate a retirement tax of 4.24% and expand a match of the federal earned income tax credit, which is aimed at low and middle-income families. As Joe Biden begins his re-election campaign, his job approval rating among the U.S. public has slipped to 37%, the lowest ever for Joe. And Biden's approval rating has been in the low 40s percentage for most of his time. And the latest poll finds just that 83% of Democrats say they approve of his job. Do you approve of Joe Biden, everybody? Shocking news, Joe Biden is taking big action to address the rising cost of living. The administration has just made huge changes to their economic agenda. Gas relief rebate cards will begin going out starting this week, and so more gas relief could be on the way for cash-strapped Americans as the government continues to tap into oil from its stockpile. Today, the Biden administration announced it would release even more oil from the Strategic Oil Reserve and work to replenish that supply. The White House would do so by establishing a federal guarantee to buy oil from some drillers at preset prices to help restock the supply. It seems to be an effort to encourage more domestic drilling during a stretch of high gas prices. Now, the Energy Department will soon put forward a rule helping them do that. According to a new release from the White House, over 125 million barrels of oil have already been sold since the government first began its unprecedented release in March, and the reserve is set to release about 180 million barrels by the fall. A report by the Treasury estimates that releasing crude oil from reserves has brought the price of gas down by about 17 to 42 cents a gallon from where it would be without the federal action. Gas prices began spiking in late February and early March. In the months that followed, the White House sparred with the oil industry, pressing executives at companies like ExxonMobil and Chevron to ramp up production, while also highlighting outsized profits for the oil and gas industry following the price increases. Some sort of relief at the gas pump remains possible in New York. One plan would even have New York gas rebate checks sent to every vehicle owner in the state. The Democratic senator who represents part of Rockland and Westchester proposed that $250 gas rebate check legislation. The lawmaker said in an official statement, with gas price hitting record highs every week, it's crucial that New York State takes whatever action is possible to help people who are getting squeezed at the pump. While the state cannot control the international factors that are contributing to rising oil prices, there are steps we can take to provide some relief. He also wants to suspend the state's gas sales tax. The New York State Senate has included the suspension of the gas tax from May to December in its budget proposal. The U.S. energy industry, meanwhile, asked for more support for domestic oil producers, and some in the industry expressed skepticism over ramping up production when Democrats are pushing for a transition away from oil and gas towards renewable energy. The plan to restock the strategic reserve at set prices is intended to sway producers to ramp up drilling, incentivizing investments that might produce oil in the medium term, and looking into guaranteed demand. In the meantime, Americans' wallets are getting squeezed by soaring gas prices. In June, inflation reached a 41-year high. Skyrocketing gas prices fueled nearly half the increase in inflation.
American jobs, raise American wages, and most importantly, save American lives. Today, I want to talk about how the Inflation Reduction Act would tackle two of the major costs that fossil fuels inflict on American families and on the federal budget. First, the cost of public health, and second, the cost of natural disasters. So let me start with the public health costs. Burning fossil fuels pollutes our air, with low-income communities and communities of color being hit the hardest. And one of the biggest causes of emissions from diesel vehicles like buses and trains. Mr. Florida, you are an expert on climate and environmental issues, so let me ask you, if these vehicles, buses and trains, ran on electricity rather than fossil fuels, what impact would that have on public health?
Senator Warren, one of the major benefits of transitioning to electric vehicles is the simple fact that they have zero tailpipe emissions. So every day we have cars, trucks, buses driving up and down our streets, driving through our neighborhoods, taking our kids back and forth to school, and they're emitting pollutants every time they drive on our roads. And I think one important point, which a recent assessment showed, and I can happy to submit this for the committee, is that as a result of transitioning that entire fleet, if we were to take our entire bus fleet, our entire railroad fleet, and transition it to electric drive motors, we would see 4,200 fewer deaths annually, many of which are from children and elderly who are especially susceptible to ambient air pollution.